It's 5:30 and time to call our meeting to order for the City Council meeting of Monday, October the 1st. Roll call, Carl.
Councilmember Remley.
Here.
Ronayne.
Here.
Lunsman.
Here.
Slate Hansen.
Here.
Johnson. Bunceness.
Here.
Olson. Rux. Mayor Leifson.
Here. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, we'll need a motion to approve last week's minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Slate Hansen, second by Remley. If there are no changes, all in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Gail is here with the chamber to, can't believe 3 council members skipped this.
Right. It's a highlight of your year, I mean.
Yeah.
You're going to hear from Lisa talking about marketing.
All right. You have the floor.
Good. I'm Lisa Anderson with the Chamber of Commerce, and everybody helps out a little bit, but I, for the most part, manage the city marketing fund money that we are allotted from you so graciously every year. So I wanted to just give you an update on what we've done so far this year with that, and what our plans are for the rest of the year. So as far as what Gail just passed out to you is the Delta Sky magazine. We were approached by them very early this year. They did a piece on South Dakota, which starts on page 63, and just kind of highlighted the state of South Dakota, and was something we felt strongly we needed to invest in so that we were represented well, I guess I would say. Try to be politically correct here. So that, other cities weren't kind of taking over the magazine. So we did spend some money on that and made sure that Aberdeen was represented in there. It was quite pricey, but, we'll have to do without doing something else this year. So you can take a look at that. Like I said, that starts on page 63 in there. We've been working with Hub City Radio and Dakota Broadcasting consistently this year as usual, just running mostly kind of come and spend some time in Aberdeen sorts of ads depending on the season, and if there's other bigger things going on, we may tailor it more to a particular event or time of the year. And so we'll continue to do that, and again, we'll be doing some regional radio around the holiday time to promote holiday shopping in Aberdeen as well. TV we ran consistently this year on KSFY, Kello, and Midco. We've been placing our ads in programming that's more apt to be watched live, like news and sports. Production Monkeys and Elm Digital Marketing each have completed a new TV commercial this year. So if, Carl, I think you probably have the mouse for that. So I'll just show you. This first one is the Elm Digital Marketing ad that was done this year. Yep, it's the Aberdeen city jingle behind it.
We can't sing everything, so.
I probably can.
Your volume down below is off. Right there.
Oh.
I had volume before.
Yeah. It was
Anything
just,
in there, Austin?
it's a very kind of a general ad just about many things to do in Aberdeen no matter what time of the year. Okay, and then the other one is one that Production Monkeys had done this year.
With the price and the number.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, this one's a little, kind of do need the volume because she's speaking in this one. I'll send you guys the link to both of these so you can listen to them as well. So those were the two commercials that we had done new this year, and then they've kind of been running alternately throughout the year. Photos, we're continuing to have McQuillan's Creative Group do additional photos for us to kind of build that portfolio of photos around town, and they're all housed on the Aberdeen Smug Mug site, so anybody can go in there and use them for purposes of marketing Aberdeen. We've supported the Hub City Hot Shots, the Aberdeen Wings, the Snow Queen Festival, and we'll be helping the Convention and Visitors Bureau as well again this year on the second Pheasant Sandwich Shootout, which is coming up in about a month. Social media, we continue to work on Facebook promotions and Aberdeen gift card giveaways. So far this year, we've given away $100 gift cards to people from Watertown, Webster, Eureka, Aberdeen, and 2 from Huron, and that is to get them to come back and spend more time here. And we're also going to be working on and also in the social media, the videos that we were produced last year, we used those over again this year, and they're seasonal. So we didn't spend any money on doing additional ones. They weren't used very long last year, so we thought their shelf life was still good, so we reused those again. And then we'll be working on some Shop Local and Small Business Saturday stuff again this year to round up the year. So one thing that, the other thing I wanted to mention was our Live Local. You guys may have seen this on a billboard around town, this logo here, and Quillenbury Creative Group did that for us as well. And it's the point of it is to get people to use that hashtag when they're posting on social media, so that there's a common place for showcasing everything there is to do in Aberdeen, and just kind of whatever your day-to-day living is to show people, kind of showcase us to the world through our own residents' eyes. So we'll continue to do some of that as well. Any questions at all? All right, I'll send you guys a link to those videos tomorrow morning, and then you can listen to them as well. But thank you for everything. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks. Next on our agenda, items A through E on our consent calendar.
Move. Approval.
Second.
Motion Remley and second by Ronan. Questions on any of those? All in favor of approving, then say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. The next item, City Attorney brings us a proposed ordinance leasing city land to ComNet Cellular.
Thank you, Mayor. Now is when times get exciting at these hearings when we talk about Verizon Wireless Telecommunications Facilities leases. This is the standard city ordinance requirement for leases of city land for a term longer than 1 year. So that is the mechanism by which we bring this before the council. There's also the specifics of the lease, and I have explained in the council action request that it involves the erection of a 150-foot tall monopole by Verizon at the area of the southwest water tower here in town, and that the terms of the lease, the entire lease was included in the agenda packet, but the significant terms of the lease include a $9,000 annual rent to be graduated for every possible extension. The initial term is a 5-year term. There is the ability of the city to terminate at that time. However, it does provide for 4 additional 5-year terms after that. And also important is a co-location requirement that would require Verizon to make its tower available to up to 2 other subscribers or providers. So that is a condition that we felt important. And lastly, we wanted to try to keep these large towers, and there will be more coming in, on city properties as much as possible, or on institutional properties if necessary, but try to keep them out of residential areas and away from our heavily trafficked areas like 6th Avenue.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion Bunceness and second by Landsman for first reading of the ordinance. Questions?
I don't really have a question, but I do have a comment. I see a lot of these, not a lot, but I do get a few cellular leases in my practice, and I've exchanged emails over the weekend with both Ron and Lynn. This is really good work. You know, the leases the lease that Ron was presented with initially and the leases that I see all the time are just so one-sided, and so often I've got clients who just sign them. And Ron took out all the really objectionable language. They always provide language saying that if you ever decide to sell this property, Verizon gets the first right of refusal, and there are all kinds of overreaching provisions like that. This is stripped down. They've done a really good job with it. I would also say that the rent that they initially offered to pay was substantially less than the contract now provides, and I'm proud of you guys. Nice work.
Okay, good.
Is there any more space on the property for any more electronics?
Well, that was actually from our initial meetings, that was the concern, was that we're gonna keep having more and more and more requests. So that's why in terms of the co-location, there would be a concern if we had many more requests for space, that it won't be conducive to that. You got the playground on the west side of the tower, which really renders it unusable on the west side. So really, there isn't a lot extra that we can put in there.
Any other questions on the motion? Now we have a motion for first reading. Carl?
Councilmember Remley.
Aye.
Ronayne.
Aye.
Lunsman.
Aye.
Slate Hansen.
Aye.
Bunceness.
Aye.
Mayor Leveson.
Aye. Passes first reading. Next, item B is ordinance 181005, revising the city code regarding snow emergency routes.
Move approval. Second.
Motion Busness, second by Remley. Any questions or comments? Or Robin, do you feel need to
No.
make a comment?
If they're happy with it, it's good.
All right.
Thank you.
Put my street on it.
Roll call, please. Carl?
Councilmember Bunceness.
Aye.
Slate Hansen.
Aye.
Lunsman.
Aye.
Ronayne.
Aye.
Remley.
Aye.
Mayor Leveson.
Aye. Motion carries. Item C is also presented for first reading, ordinance 181006. And this is regarding traffic and vehicles in prohibited parking on the public boulevard. Ron?
Thank you, Mayor. This particular ordinance revision packs two sections in Chapter 52. One has to do with the clarification of prohibited parking on our public boulevards within the city. We do have a number of areas where there is not a sidewalk, and the current definition requires essentially that there be a sidewalk there in order to identify what the boulevard is. We've amended that to provide for language that addresses situations where there is no sidewalk. The other change is at section 4-24 dealing with the spring load, reduced load maximums on our streets, and we've expanded the time frame from February 15 to April 15 to February 1st to May 31st to account for the longer delayed springs that are happening of recent vintage. So those are our changes.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion Busness, second by Ronayne. Any reason these two were put in one ordinance when they don't seem to relate to each other?
I take because they both deal with Chapter 52. That's why I put them in there. I thought this was a perfect time to include both of them in there. They both deal with the same chapter.
Okay. Other questions, comments? Carl, roll call first reading.
Councilmember Remley.
Aye.
Ronayne.
Aye.
Lunsman.
Aye.
Slate Hansen.
Aye.
Bunceness.
Aye.
Olson. Mayor Leveson.
Aye, motion carries. Item D, would entertain a motion to approve 5-day on-sale license for the community theater, October 3rd through the 7th.
Move approval. Second.
Motion Remley, second by Lunsman. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. The next is a request to authorize the signing of the fiscal year 2019 grant agreement with the South Dakota Department of Transportation for Rideline. Tom, is there any changes in this or anything we need to note before we proceed here?
No changes, roughly the same dollar amount that we had last year for the 5311 grant. That is for our operation funding. Covers both administrative and operating portions of that. So.
Okay.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion Bunsen, second by Remley. Any questions about the agenda item or from Tom? If not, all those in favor of authorizing that, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thanks. Item F, Robin has a recommendation on bids for snow removal. Robin?
Took bids on Tuesday. We've got roughly 30 trucks bid, 3 blades, and I think 8 wreckers this year. So bottom line is we've got enough bids for all the functions we need to do for snow removal. We're requesting approval of all the bids. We typically take them in order of availability and then in order of price. We'll just ask for the approval at this point.
Moved.
Second.
Motion Bunsen, second by Remley. Questions, anyone?
Question regarding towing.
Go ahead.
Do we have any of these individuals that have not performed the way we like that are on this list? Have we suspended any of these groups?
There's 2 that I'm aware of, but there's been a period that allows them back into this contract.
How long is
there's limited interaction with the police department on certain evidence-related things. One individual's not involved with that.
So how long do we give them to get back on the list?
With the one individual that the chief is referring to, that person was suspended from towing for city services for a period of 6 months following disposition of a criminal matter.
Okay.
So the entire suspension was, I want to say it was maybe closer to a year from towing for city services. But that person has been reinstated and is permitted to tow.
Is there anything that they can do that there would be a lifetime ban on their services?
Sure, I could imagine that could happen, but this particular matter did not, in our opinion, justify a lifetime ban.
Did you have something, Lynn?
Yeah, I wanted to make a quick comment, and I'm not advocating a change at this moment, but if you go to page 4 with the packet that Robin put together where it talks about towing only, when you look at the price per hour and the tow cost, you can see that the city's ticket fine of $40 isn't even covering the direct costs. And that's not including the indirect cost that's involved with the engineering and police department. So sometime in the future, we're going to probably come back to you and ask that you actually review that, because the last time that fee was changed was 2001.
That particular fee was not changed in 2001. It was.
That precedes my time here, 24 years ago. So.
Okay, yeah. Because I always hear this statement that the city tows people because they make money. We actually lose money every time we tow something.
Gotta fix that.
Let's not lose money anymore.
How many snow tickets do we abate in a year? How many do we do?
Through circumstances, out-of-towners and things like that, I would say on an average, we had an incident a couple years ago with some northern students that we ended up dismissing quite a few. But on average, probably 10 to 15, not as many as you think. I mean, we do a very good job, and our police department especially does a wonderful job of going through and identifying and getting those towed. Once they're there, and knowing that we will incur a minimum of a $35 or a $40 fee for that towing, we're not inclined to dismiss very many of these.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the motion? If not, all those in favor of accepting the recommendation on those bids, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item G comes from the water treatment plant. Quote for a screen and floating pump at the treatment plant in the amount of $22,191 from Stretchwell Service. Lynn, you speaking for Bob here, or?
Yeah, I thought he'd be here this evening. As we've done our evaluation, and Robin can kick in anytime if he feels like it too, we felt that we could better serve the needs of our water consumption if in fact we actually took water directly off the top of the ponds versus waiting for it to saturate through the grounds and the soils. Because you take, for example, the Jacobs well, even though it's adjacent to a considerable amount of water source, the water's not filtrating through the soils as quickly as it could when you look at the capacity of the pond. And so we thought, well, long term, it might be in the city's best interest, instead of drilling another well, to actually buy a surface well that goes into the pond, and then we can see what kind of drawdowns we can do for the future, and it can be used in emergencies too.
This is really, the purpose of this one right now is for analysis, and then that'll help us determine future activities. But it's really about trying to look at what we can do for drawdown at this point, so.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion Bunces, second by Remley. Any questions on it? $22,191 to Stretches Well Service. All in favor of accepting that quote, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. And Robin, item H, requesting approval of easements for some parcels. Robin.
We've got four temporary easements and 2 permanent easements that we need to grant for a DOT project. And this is for the accessible quadrant work that they will be doing along Highway 12. Right now, there's not total ADA compliance. This project will get us back into compliance. It's a DOT project. These parcels affect city properties. The Lincoln Pond, Lincoln School Pond, the old library, Anderson Park, Nicollet Park, and the bike path on the north side by the old paper warehouse or Snap Fitness. Those are the parcels we're talking about that'll be affected. Most of it's temporary easements. The 2 permanent easements basically just, they need a little more room to be able to get these in to be compliant with federal standards. So at this point, we're recommending, there's an offer out there for about $1,190. Customarily, we have donated those to the project. It's up to you whether you want to accept the money or whether you want to donate.
I move to approve the easements, but not to approve the donation.
Second.
Motion Ronayne and second by Bunces. Comments on the motion?
You know, my comment would be, you know, this is taxpayer money. We don't have any business giving away money that belongs or to whom or for which the city's entitled. We don't. That doesn't make sense to me. Even if we've been doing it habitually, I think we stop.
Any other questions or comments? If not, we have a motion to approve the easements, but also take the money.
Take the money.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item I is bills presented for payment from Wellmark Insurance, $134,000, or to Wellmark, $134,000. Nationwide employee benefits for dental, $161. MetLife premium, $540. Finance office merchants fee to ETS, $1,250. Merchant services for Parks and Rec, $5,000 to Dakota Bank, $1,000 to Plug and Pay, and $1,000 to Infintech. Aberdeen shuttles after-hour tickets to Rideline, $233. Copier fees paid to Marco for ambulances, $57. Oxygen to Matheson, $41. Water meters, a bill from Metering and Technology Solutions, $87.18. Monthly DCS support to Direct Automation LLC, $4,500. Justice and Fire Safety annual inspections at the water treatment plant, $517. $11,250 for water investigation to Geological Survey. $14,790 to Stretches Well Service for pumps at Jacobs. The Lodge at Deadwood, lodging for Fisher and Badton for conference there, $671. J. Gross Equipment, track loader for street department, $42,409. And AT&T cell phone charges, $1,056.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion Remley, second by Slade Hansen. Questions on any bill? Carl?
Councilmember Bunceness.
Aye.
Slade Hansen.
Aye.
Lunsman.
Aye.
Ronayne.
Aye.
Remley.
Aye.
Mayor Leeson.
All right, motion carries. Item J is payroll September 16 to September 29, and City Sheriff Social Security, Old Age and Survivors Insurance, Retirement, Health, and Life.
Moved.
Motion Remley, second by Bunceness. Carl?
Councilmember Remley.
Aye.
Ronayne.
Aye.
Lunsman.
Aye.
Slade Hansen.
Aye.
Bunceness.
Aye.
Mayor Leeson.
All right, motion carries. Lynn?
One quick item, within the manager's packet, and you may find this of interest, so you may not find it of interest, but we spent a lot of time talking about sales tax, and I provided you a report from the South Dakota Governor's Office of Economic Development where their state sales tax refund is called Reinvestment Payment Program, and I provided you a report showing the payments that they've made since year 2013 to 2017, who they made the payments to, what the payment amounts were, and the number of full-time jobs created, as well as estimated property taxes as a result of the project. I thought that you could use this at a later date when you're presented information to use it in comparison. They also have another program that's called the Jobs Program. It's for smaller amounts, but it's a grant amount where it's not really a rebate of sales tax.
Okay. Anything from anyone else before we adjourn?
Yes, I have a question for the chief, and I'm maybe going to put you on the spot tonight. So if you don't have an answer for me, but I would like to talk about it at some point in the future. I'm really, really concerned about the vaping, the cigarette-like items. I had no idea the extent of this with teenagers. I was at the Brown County Fair and kind of down in the mosh pit and was just being covered by the smoke all the time, and realized what it was, looking at these kids behind me, and realized what it was, and went home to my own teenagers and said, what is this? Is this a big thing with the kids? And found out that at the age of 18, kids are going, everybody they know, at the age of 18, the first thing they do is go to the store and buy one of these things. And I was shocked about that. And what I saw that night was that these kids, different than what I think you see with cigarettes, is these kids pass them around. So it's not like one kid buys it and uses it themselves, but the 18-year-old will buy it, and then they're standing there with all their friends and passing this thing around. So apparently they're not concerned about germs the way you might be with a cigarette. I guess my question is, are we doing enough? Is there something more we can be doing? Because I feel like this is a real health concern and something that we have to figure out how to stop these kids from doing this.
Sure. That's a good question, and it is a big problem right now and a major health concern. It is very prevalent, and it's frightening because it's marketed and made very attractive to youth, a very popular thing. There's a lot of chemicals that can cause a lot of long-term health-related issues. So it really starts with good parenting, parents being aware of what their kids are doing, having conversations with their kids about the dangers of this. I know the school has a lot of good educational programs that address this particular concern. We teach the DARE program, and we have 700 plus graduates every year, and that deals with this particular issue. We have retail places in town that sell these particular devices and chemicals to adults, and I know every summer the state notifies us that they come here and they do compliance checks of tobacco. And I want to say also the vaping products, because it has nicotine, so they do compliance checks. They use an undercover thing. But we could probably certainly do some of our own local compliance checks in Aberdeen as well. So there's a lot of different approaches to that with the parenting, school, education, law enforcement, all kind of working towards, trying to reduce this. And, when you give a kid the ability to conceal something so easily, a lot of these devices look like the USB things. And again, it's just, there's a lot of different ways. And the school resource officers are constantly receiving and taking these from kids at school. So it is a problem, but again, it goes back to, parents doing as much as they can, much like what you probably do with your kids, talking about, the dangers and how real, this can cause some severe health, long-term things. It's a scary thing. So, and it's new. It's nothing that probably we grew up at the ages we were in school. And other drugs, dangerous drugs, can be put in these devices, and it can be used that way too. So
do you think that just requiring that kids be 18 when they buy it is that enough? Is there something more? I guess is there something more that can be done, like when we see groups of kids? I guess I'm just thinking about this situation where I saw this group of kids passing these around. Should they be not legal to be used in situations like that? I look at that as a type of cigarette. So can we say that they can't be used in situations where maybe kids are going to be passing them around in those type of
in
events?
Public places?
Well, yeah, right? Because you can't use a cigarette. You're not supposed to be smoking a cigarette when you're in those type of situations. I just feel like...
Was this outside or inside?
It was outside.
That's perfectly legal to have a cigarette outside.
But
and
it's not
vaping. There's nothing illegal about them.
It's not...
And they're not as harmful as what you were thinking.
It's not legal to be smoking a cigarette when you're outdoor in a public setting like that, is it?
Well, the statute, it's purchase, possession of tobacco, and it specifies the nicotine piece that qualified it as tobacco. So it can be a petty offense, and I guess, Ron, if you have the statute available, can you see how it's currently written right now?
Well, I'm looking at a smokeless tobacco, and I don't know if this counts as a smokeless tobacco, but the important aspect of it is that it's a petty offense, and that's where it becomes very difficult from a municipal standpoint to be enforcing these because of the relatively nominal offense that it involves. As a petty offense, it's considered a civil offense, which means it doesn't go beyond magistrate court, and it's a $25 maximum fine. So from our perspective, this is something where if it needs teeth, it needs teeth through our legislature, not through what the city can do.
The tobacco lobby long ago took any local option away from dealing with tobacco laws, and so this is.
This is not even tobacco, though.
Yeah.
It's steam.
It's nicotine, I think
it's nicotine,
but
nicotine is not as...
But what I'm saying is it's my understanding there would be a limited thing that we could do as far as a local ordinance without the legislature coming down on us.
A bannable thing in school, obviously, which causes that potential thing, and I guess we could do more research with the coalition that comes to do the compliance checks and across the state, and maybe network with them a little bit more to bring your concern and see if there's anything else that can be done at a higher degree.
The police department also has a lot of other things on their slate that's much more important than messing with vaping. Vaping hasn't been proven that it's even harmful to a person. So until they come up with more studies that says that vaping is harmful, more harmful than cigarettes, and it is less harmful than cigarettes, a lot less harmful than cigarettes. I can vouch for it because I quit smoking cigarettes, started vaping, my voice came back, and I quit coughing as much. And to me, it's a better thing. It's an alternative. So
it certainly is an alternative, but in my experience, if a person is having to, when people are passing these things around to people who are underage, under 18, and 2, when you're having to endure the smoke, we've passed a law in South Dakota that we don't want the smoke in public places, and yet, in my experience, the vaping smoke was just as bad as cigarette smoke. So I feel like my concern here is that we passed an ordinance here in Aberdeen that said that they couldn't be sold to anyone under 18, and yet we have the situation where it appeared to me in that situation that a large number of children under 18 were utilizing them. And so if they were utilizing them just out in public where there were hundreds of people around them and they didn't seem to care at all, they weren't afraid at all to be utilizing this device, if they're not afraid to do it with hundreds of people around, then that tells me that they're not afraid to be doing it all the time. And so I'm concerned. So I'm asking if there is anything more we can do. If there isn't, and we just have to wait for the state to do something, or the federal government, or whoever that is, then that's fine. But I just want to know if there is something that we can be doing, then I would like to see us doing it.
I think you're jumping to conclusions. I mean, this is something that is not
So
helpful.
I've heard from two non-experts on, one is it's harmful and one says it's not harmful. Is really the potential for harm is that they can put some other kind of material in these things other than what is it? What is the harmful
I don't
piece of
qualify
this?
myself as an expert, but there's chemicals in the I guess the medium that allows the nicotine to be ingested. Some of those things aren't FDA regulated, and maybe what I could do is, since you brought up this issue and it's a very good issue, why don't I notify somebody from the state who actually does compliance checks and is a qualified expert, and have them come and do a presentation to our council at a later date, and then I can research how many vendors we actually have in Aberdeen that do this, and maybe talk to them a little bit, ask them if they notice a problem, and see if there's more that we could do. And I can make a presentation on that, if that would be okay.
That would be great. I would sincerely appreciate that.
All right. Very
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Anything else?
Move to adjourn.
Motion Bunsen, second by Lunsman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.